Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Tarot for Our Times. It's good to be back after a two-day psychic fair, and as much as I enjoy doing them, I'm really wiped out afterwards. So, after a lot of thought today, I was thinking I need some inspiration. Then it occurred to me, well, who's been more inspirational in the Democratic Party as far as the elders go than Bernie Sanders? So tonight we have Bernie of Wands, inspired by the King of Wands. I think I like my version of the meme I did for the thumbnail with the Bernie of Wands. Now, the King of Wands is the inspiring leader. He is the element of fire, and he gets the crowds all fired up. Now, what's interesting in this card is we have the little salamander, which I found one to put in the meme, and he's got the throne decorated with him too. And the spiritual meaning of this little lizard is that he's he's a kind of person that he's resilient. He always comes back. He pretty much reinvents himself, and he is the element of fire, like the King of Wands. And I thought, well, that would describe Bernie because he's sort of like the comeback elder kid, I guess I could say. Now, very interesting with my history of Bernie Sanders is that in the 2016 election, I went for Hillary, and sort of like half intuition and half what I know about history and the way government works is that people misunderstood me and thought I disliked Bernie. Well, I really didn't. I really love his ideas. It's just that I thought that he would be more valuable in the Senate. And as I've commented on other posts, on other videos that have spoken about him, I say, think about it. Let's say he won in 2016 and then he won again in 2020. He probably would have had a hostile Congress. And there's so much the president can do. I'm sure he would have been great as a president. I thought, but think of it. He'd be gone. He'd be retired. He's in his 80s. I believe he is 84 and he'll be 85 in September. I mean 84 and sorry, 84 in September. And he would just be, maybe lecturing and right, but now he is a powerhouse. Now you might say, okay, he could go out on the lecture thing and hold the rallies even as an ex-president, but I'm saying he's got the power in the Senate. That's where we need him. And that's what I always said, but nobody wanted to listen to me, that he was, and I kind of compared it to Ted Kennedy, who did turn out to be an elder state after a very misspent youth, turned out to be an elder statesman. And I will say, even when he was drinking, he got a lot done. Of course, when he got sober, he really thrived, and it will be remembered as he was very instrumental in the Affordable Act Care being passed, and that's Bernie. That's one of Bernie's big things. So, um, we've had senators that were practically 100 years old. So, Bernie is a real inspiring guy. He's been going to the red districts and packing them in. I don't know that enough credit has been given, but this could really make a very big difference. At least he hasn't been uh, booed out of the place like the guys representing the many people in these red districts that they voted for and now they regret. So I want to see, will he? Because I hear the other people on the internet saying, "Boy, I wish the other Dems could be like him and AOC and Jasmine Crockett." And I'm sure he's inspired those younger ones quite a bit. Well, maybe if he does enough of these things and enough of us talk about him, he may be lighting a fire under some of his colleagues. And I've spoken about this before. On one hand, give them enough rope to hang themselves, but be going out and talking to the people. That's what you need to do. And I think he's been quite powerful at this. So first, what I want to see is, will he inspire the other Dems? And then what his rallies could do. And it just occurred to me, it has to make you wonder if he and Kamala, who she packed them in too. I mean, this is very unscientific, but her losing it doesn't make any sense in a way. So it still goes to the fact of I don't think this election was quite kosher. I know that Sterling from California is absolutely convinced, and that from his lips and all that, I would love to have his prediction comes true, but I do believe that something smells about this election. So, okay. So first thing I want to do is to see, will he inspire the other Dems? So use the Gilded Tarot Royale, which I've shuffled to death here. So let's see where they're at now. What is the current energy in the now for them? Queen of Cups. Okay. Queen of Cups is she's contemplating her emotional state. I just noticed this the other day. I did a reading for someone at one of the days at the fair, and comparing a daughter, and I was saying, oh my goodness, the Queen of Cups looks like in this deck looks like she may be pregnant. So taking this into the more current events, meaning I will say that she is pregnant with some ideas that, and she's contemplating into the cup too, pregnant with some ideas, and kind of hesitant and wondering if they should come forth and give birth. And Bernie may just be the midwife to come and say, you got to just push it out now. So this looks pretty good. They need to get out of that state, but it looks like they're very much considering what he is doing, but I get a sense like she's a little bit wait and see here, and a little bit afraid emotionally. So then the energy we have is the Seven of Wands. On one hand, wanting to meet the challenge, but on the other hand, being a bit overwhelmed by it too. But my message to them is, once you get out there, you are ready to meet the challenge. So the underlying thing about all of this, near death in reverse. Let me put these down here. Justice and the Star in reverse. So I would say that the death in reverse is kind of like the near-death experience. I think maybe they're realizing they're not totally dead, but a lot of it comes to, when this guy's upright, it's about being willing to give up a lot of the old things that he has clung on to, like religion and the king. The king is dead, long live the king. The children, it's time to grow up, all that sort of thing. When I see it in reverse, it's saying, come on, you got to let these things go. So it's about they're a little fearful of letting the old stuff go. And I'm afraid that may be what Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer's about. And I think that Hakeem Jeffries has potential, but he needs to snap out of it and say, you've been great mentors, but now I've got to I've got to go. If I'm going to go with an elder, I'm going to be inspired by Bernie. So in the justice system, this is not the legality so much, but this is the karma thing. It's like the time is now, time to, but the scales are balanced. Now it's time to take some action. And the star in reverse, I will take that for a lot. The basic current event meaning of it represents the United States and the dilemma of the spirituality versus the earthly things, and that we have to look at the big picture because our country is at stake with this. It really is at stake. So this tells me they're kind of in the contemplating, but this is very positive, and they've got to take a look at that. They've just got to take a look at this. But since it's there, it's a bit in the future, and so that means pretty much means that the old rules, which is what they have to give in death to turn that flip that thing upright, is that they have to get rid of the old way of doing things. It's not like sinking to their level as much, and I've talked about this before, as much as it is you got to play a little bit rough. You got to play a little bit rough. That's all there is to it. So in the opposition, we have temperance, and I've talked about this before. It's the balance. It's a balance of knowing how far you can go. That you can be tough guys, let them stand back a little bit when the time is appropriate. Give them enough rope, you know what to do, and but also to be able to be out there assert themselves without going to the stepping over to the line of being unethical and going to their level. But they got to toughen up. That's what this is all about. So in the past, we have the Nine of Wands. This election really beat the hell out of the Dems. Not only in the presidential election, but in some of the local things and the House and the Senate that weren't expected, and has made them into like, well, we know we have to pick ourselves up, but we can't do it right now. So what I'm seeing in the Bernie and other factors is that they're coming out of that first, and maybe giving the hopefully they're giving the message, you guys have got to do it. This is enough. You've got the wherewithal to to lick your wounds and bandage yourself up and start all over again. So let's see, in the conscious thoughts, it is that feeling of being defeated and maybe not quite knowing what to do. And I think this is the Bernie factor, because I think he's telling them to just turn on your TV or your computer and see what I'm doing. This is what you've got to do. You got to snap out of it. And then we have, on the subconscious level, of the Two of Cups in reverse, which that's pretty much about being afraid of not being able to come to agreements with each other to be able to do it. And that's kind of, I think there's a lot of fear and getting out of control emotionally, that sort of thing, if they're to do that. And I think that the Bernie Sanders of the world are telling them, you really need to get over it. You just get over it. Then in the present now, we've got the King of Wands in reverse. Again, that's the muskrat. That is the muskrat. It's interesting because I I thought, well, what card would Bernie be? Well, he's really inspiring. Okay, he is the King of Wands. And he's the anti muskrat. That's the whole thing, because he is delivering the message against this. Really, the King of Wands is one of the most messed up cards to go in reverse. He's a tyrant. He is unfaithful. Possible. I know cups are about substance abuse, but I would say wands in reverse could be fill that bill. Here and here, he's right next to these two cups. So they need to look, instead of being intimidated, they need to look at Bernie. Bernie is the anti-muskrat, because Bernie is the King of Wands upright. That's why I read reversals. A lot of people don't, but that's why I read them. So, coming up in the hopes and fears, we have the Knight of Swords. And he's in reverse. And it's all about the lies that the MAGA people are telling. And Bernie's there to kind of cut them down and tell the truth. But I think in the hopes that, I think they hope that maybe nobody is believing them, but they also fear that people may be believing the lie. So I think Bernie is coming right along, and he's out there stumping and telling them not to believe the lies, and he's got the counter lies. So coming up in the near future, we have the Ace of Wands. So right now, I think he's trying to light a fuse with them. It's I would say it's an inner light, an inner flame that's just itching to get out. And I think this is what this is probably saying. I think that it's, I would say it's the light bulb going on, but it's going on with the dimmer switch and not flipping on right away. Bernie has always been flipped on. So, but this is quite hopeful. And then we have coming up in the more distant future it's the young ones that are going to be bringing the message. So it's really interesting that you've got the younger ones that have the message, but they have the elder person to do it. So I have been saying that what we need younger blood coming up, but I would say that there, with people like Bernie, you need the wise elders. You really need the wise elders. And what he's saying, that we need more. He's got very young energy. That's the thing about him. I mean, young people just loved him with this, democratic socialism and all that sort of thing. So, he's. I think that the whole thing is like, got to get this message to the younger people to bring it out. And this does look hopeful because he does inspire them. So, in the conclusion, we got our friend Hot Devil here. Hot Devil is the reminder that there's still the MAGAs, and that the devil has been very seductive with him, and that represents, the Trump thing. But I think what Bernie's doing is he's saying, that devil may be something else, but I can get them away from that. But I also am very well aware of what it is, the attraction that these people have had. So he knows very well what it is and what is at stake. So what do we learn from this whole thing with dear old Bernie? We learn that burying our head in the sand is no good. The light of the truth is coming out, and it is time for us to be brave, go out in the sun, and speak our truth. So it's the more of the coaxing. We shouldn't have to be coaxed, but I do want to put a clarifier here. Temperance. Temperance, that there can be a balance. So don't be afraid of being like them or anything like that. You're going to learn. You'll learn the limits of all of that, and that's the lesson. And that's a lesson that, it's nice to talk about all the young blood, but I'll tell you something. I think that in a way, if it weren't for Bernie, I don't know that, I think that it's not that I think maybe he did inspire some of them, but I also think that he's kind of made them possible, the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's, and there are others, so that people vote for them. So now what he's doing is he's going out to the red country to win them over from the hot. Where is he? Where is that little bugger? Do I still have him? Yeah. He said, I might be older, but I'm going to win them over from the hot devil. Yep. So I think that he just hasn't been getting enough credit. That's what the problem is that I think that, of course, the mainstream media is just like they're not covering like the 80 zillion protest marches that are going on pick a city. Pittsburgh, I can't even keep up with them here. Pittsburgh, Chicago, LA. Just throw a dart at the map and ask somebody on the internet, and voila, you'll see tons of people in the street. So just like that's not being covered, I think that it's kind of up to us and the people like, I know the people like Midas Touch to go out and I'd love to. I've seen some snippets of Bernie's speeches, and in the Midwest, and he is just, he's there with all of these, Midwestern type. He doesn't have to go to Lenten fish fries or the gun shows. He can just go. He goes in there. He's himself with that Brooklyn accent. And they love him, so he doesn't have. And that's one thing I've heard. I do agree with those. I've had it, ladies. Says, come on, don't pretend to be something you aren't. You wouldn't be caught dead at a gun show or that kind of stuff. Do what Bernie does. Just be yourself. Go out and fire up the people and inspire them. So, what will these rallies be doing? What could they do? And I see if I can get a little bit of a hint to see in this reading, to see if they may be starting to raise questions about the legitimacy of this election. It just, it's quite amazing that it makes you kind of find it hard to believe that what's his face won. Okay, so what could be the result of his rallies, and what could they be doing? Okay, so down we go, and let's see, we have here the Empress. Okay, I think the one thing his rallies are doing is, he talks about the healthcare and all of that, but he has gone into the muskrat and Mama Russia here. I believe that these rallies are making people aware of the fact that Russia has been in our business way too much, which could maybe lead to people wondering about the, shall I say, patriotism of FOTUS. So let's see what the energy is around that. So that's a major thing that these could be doing. So let's see what we have here. Oh, We have the world. The energy is the world. And that is like, let's wrap it up with the old BS about being nice, yada, yada, yada. That's history. And I'm really starting to think that if the others need to get with the program, they just simply need to get with the program, because before you know it, it's going to be, they should be already looking at next year to take the House back. And there's a couple coming up, elections coming up in next month, I believe. Yes, Florida, New York. And you know he's gonna be stumping for those people. That guy in his 80s, the energy that he has. Okay, so Russia, and then, we've just got to wrap up the two nicey, kind of nauseating stuff, actually. Okay, this is the whole thing of people are tired of being left out in the cold. And I think what these are doing is saying, you have been thrown out in the cold by American, and pretty soon not so American, oligarchs. And aren't you getting fed up with it? And this goes right along. You can see they're robbing you blind with the seven of swords. They are robbing you blind, and you got to get your behinds out of those tents and do something about it. So the Pentacles in reverse are saying the time of us being left out in the cold, it's over. So then we have the Hierophant. And this is the government, the institutions, and we have really got to strengthen them and bring them back to what they were, because they've been torn apart. So while Bernie has been a maverick, he has pretty much worked in the system. So I think there's going to be a big stress about it. It's up to us to bring back the dignity of our institutions that have been just absolutely trashed since January 20th. So in the opposition of this, we have this clinging on to the old ways. It just isn't working anymore. It just is not working. We have got to this is pretty much the theme. I think this is what he could be doing. I have to be an optimist. I really think this is what he could be doing. So in the past, we have the Nine of Pentacles, and I think it speaks of starting to recognize wealth that he's been talking about this for years. The wealth that has been in very few hands, and this woman is very solitary figure here, representing the few that are wealthy, and they're kind of off in their own ivory towers. So I think maybe what he's been saying for decades now might finally be starting to get through to some people. So excuse me so I can stop coughing. Okay, so conscious thoughts. I think conscious thoughts about these rallies are he's bringing out the truth, but we maybe need to find the courage to bring out some more truths. And this is all about people's fears of what kind of blackmail that so many of them serving in Congress, like I call it the Lindsey Graham factor. Like God only knows what he has on them. So this is some people that are consciously afraid to go too far because they fear that some truth coming out that they don't want to. So subconsciously, it's kind of going back to all those regrets, like, oh, we planned this out and so on and so forth, and now he just, see that face, he isn't too happy with that. So this has really been going on in the mind of the Democrats, and I think that this is a subconscious thing that they really want to bring out, but they've been afraid. So but this is good because he's realizing it. All this old stuff it's not working out anymore, and I think that maybe it might get some voters to thinking about that. So let's see. In the present, we have the awareness that the winner not I call this the winner not really winning card, because this is awareness of people waking up to the fact that that the election may have been stolen, but this is also says like, yeah, I'm the winner, but look at these people walking away. I would say that some of them are the stars of the FAFO videos where they really regret voting for him. So this is pretty much about people becoming aware that FOTUS is not the big hot shot he is anymore, because he may have this power now, but he's getting to be alone in his power. Then we have coming up in the not too distant future. Woo! I was hoping this would come up. The Death card. This is people being aware of the fact that as fast as this has risen, this could be a dying deal. But I think that the message of these rallies, I'm pretty sure of, is like, I can go and get you fired up, boys and girls, but here's what I suggest that you do. I'm doing my part, and you got to do your part to bring an end to this nightmare. This is a very hopeful card, because it came up reverse in the last reading. So the effect of these could be is people saying, we do have to give up a lot of the old stuff we clung to. What could be happening with some people, dare I dream, is that they may start going to a different church now, and that this evangelical gospel of hate thy neighbor is not working, and they may want to find maybe a Jimmy Carter kind of a Christian church. So a lot of stuff being given up, and these rallies could have and he doesn't look like he's anywhere near slowing down. So then we have more in the distant future is, it's interesting because this is seeing it in the context of these cards. I see this a little differently this time. It's about being inspired, but maybe holding the fire back a little bit, doing the little plan before lighting the match to something, but not waiting too long. But it's the fire's there. It's just being subdued for a little while until it's the perfect time to flip it upright. Okay. But it's kind of like the match. I'd look at it as the match that's being ready to lit, and you'll know when to light it. I think one more card just to clarify that a little bit. Oh. And this really is about at the same time what people like Bernie Sanders and some of these and the youngins are doing is saying a lot of this has brought heartache. But the good news with this being in reverse, it's kind of like it's time for gravity to pull those swords out of there and to start healing, and to know that you will move through this storm. So this, I think people have been grieving quite a bit. So what I believe could be happening is saying, like, you've had to grieve and get over the shock, but now it's time for action. And some people have been starting a little earlier than others, but I have noticed that looking at some of these demonstrations on the internet is that, you know what, they're a lot bigger than they were like a couple of weeks ago. So this is kind of the healing that's going on here. And then we have in the hopes and the fears. Okay. The hope is, it is looking, having elder people to look up to. And this King of Pentacles is about spending money wisely, and the message, and it's also about health. This could be another aspect of Bernie in saying that the way that our health system is now, it's like bleeding money. But to have universal health care, it's, first of all, it's healthier, and second of all, in the long run, it'll save money. I know in Australia, because I listen to those Australian readers, they have their health care taken care of, but they pay, I think maybe it's 1% of what they pay in taxes, something like that, that maybe add up to like another couple $100 a year, their money. And that takes care of their health. That's what takes care of their health. I mean, they take $100 out of our Social Security, and that they feed us this line of garbage that we need to get more insurance. I mean, that's, you don't get me started. Okay, so people are going to start to see that message. All they have to do is whip out their calculators on their phone, and it will add up. So I'm seeing some things change. So let's see. That was I think that was the hopes and the fears. I think there may be a fear of, well, we've done it this screwed up way for so long, it's kind of scary to change, which is the most normal thing in the world. So to conclude, this is, oh goody, we had her, Mama Russia, she's in reverse now. This is taking the power away from her. This also comes to the question of, when I thought, I don't know if this is related, but you have to wonder how legit the election was if he's bringing them out in droves. It's not all the people in regret. I mean, it just, in the way she did, I mean, it just doesn't add up. I think what could happen is that we take the power from Russia and also look in to see what role this mother, her, had to do with our election. So I'm not going to quite stick myself out far on the limb as Sterling does, who he thinks it's going to be President, Harris. But I can't dare to go that far. But what this is telling me is the awareness of the corruption, and why would Ukraine want to make a deal? I think that's what Bernie's saying. Why would you want to have Ukraine make a deal with Russia when they're about ready to finish them off anyway? It doesn't make any sense. So I think that's a very big awareness that I have to start listening to those speeches a little bit more, but I would say this really could be, and this is where these two things make sense, this could really be about not only the awareness of Russia and that Russia's just a big weak bully, but also in going into that, we could maybe start to connect the dots and see what she had to do with the election. So maybe that's going to be one of those little side effects that these rallies could have, that would be wonderful. And I have to reiterate, this is for entertainment only. And it could be that Putin is not in very good shape either, health-wise. So, what do we have to learn from this and how this can affect is that we've been just carrying too much of a burden. I mean, these rods represent a lot. There have been a lot of rods in this. They represent, it's like we've been paying too many taxes to support those people that don't. And that's Jeff Bezos and the muskrats and all of those douchebags that haven't been, and the El Presidente. And we carry the burden with the health care and all kinds of things. Becoming aware of that, which is what he is doing, and driving the point home and very successfully, really means that we're not going to do it anymore. That's the next step. So I if I could dare to be as bold as to say that if this whole house of cards comes down, and I don't see, with drug addicts, alcoholics, Russian assets, heroin junkie that fried his brains out years ago, all of this stuff going up, that is not a formula for success. I can't tell you when this thing will cave in, but I can tell you this. It's people like Bernie Sanders going around the country and going to hostile areas and being brave enough to talk about that. That's what's going to he's you don't want to say, oh, he's the reason, but you say he's a major contributor, and if he can inspire people to do this, and the wand is like a torch, pass that torch all over the country. I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to inspire you to get out and do. That's what his role is. It's not to be the guru. It's to say, this stuff isn't rocket science, boys and girls. You're dealing with a bunch of weak people. So now is the time to take the action. And I think, yeah, he really is quite the king of wands. There was something else I wanted to say about this that I think is pretty important. What was it? For entertainment purposes only. And we have a number of people that are not the healthiest. I mean, look at him. He's 5 years older. He's 5 years older than Trump. And yet I would say he's probably in a very much better health than he is. To have the energy to go around to all of these places. But I really believe that, he is the inspiration. We have to do this. And, I remember what I want to say, that he is an example of what I heard Dr. Lena Rodriguez say, and I made a video about that, was courage is contagious, and that's what he's doing. He's out there starting an epidemic of courage, and that's what a real leader does. Doesn't have to be the president to be the leader, but being a leader in one of our bodies of legislation is every bit as important. So I want to say I hope you feel grateful for Uncle Bernie. Listen to your Uncle Bernie, everybody. So at that, I'm going to sign off and see you again soon. Bye.